This is the second part of Module 2. We want to talk a little bit about what a service is, and there's lots of different types of services you can create inside the ArcGIS server. We're going to mainly concern ourselves with two of them. One of them is known as a map service, and a map service is a one-directional stream of data. So we can read the information from the service, but we cannot edit the information in the service. So it's a matter of whatever the symbology, the zoom levels, the labeling that was created by the author of the service is what we're stuck with. And so this makes a very good layer in which it's just basic information. So it might be census tract boundaries, might be county boundaries. It could be roads, things that you're not going to change. So this is a service that you bring in to be your initial layers that you're going to be using. So when you're in ArcMap, you can bring these services in, and we'll show you how to do that in just a few moments. So this typically might be in a geodatabase. Again, we don't want to store data on the server, so this geodatabase should be on a file server that's going to feed the information in, and you can connect to that same file service location from your desktop on your regular desktop computer. So it's not a matter that you have to move information to the file server. You just start the file and it's on the file server, and then you can connect to that same file through the Arc server that we'll talk about how to do that. So a map service is a lot of times what most of our services is that come off of a ArcGIS server. The other type of service that we have is known as a feature class service. And these are editable services, and that's the critical point here. They're editable services. To make them an editable service, they must be in a relational database. As we noted earlier, there's lots of different types of relational databases out there. The one that we use is a SQL server. It could be an Oracle server. It could be a MySQL server. It could be a SQL Express server, which does have some limitations because of the way my SQL Express is composed. But it's got to be not just the typical personal geodatabase. Truly is a server class machine, and then you connect to that service. So again, from your desktop, you are writing back and forth to that database server, and then once you've got it all completed or you're ready for it to be visible by other people, then you create a map service, you create a feature class service, and then the user can edit that. Now you got to be very, very careful as this is being built, because you do not want to have everybody in the world editing your feature class service. So you would also create a map service at the same time. So most people would see the map service in their web browser. Only those people you give permission to and the right address to could see the feature class service where they could actually do editing. Now when you make an edit on the feature class service and they refresh the screen on the person using the map service, they see the change occur nearly instantaneously. Again, the relational database needs to be sitting in a server class machine. It should be behind your firewall and should not have a public IP address on it, because that's an issue that people can attack your SQL server. And this is an enterprise type setup that we're looking at. So when we look about this configuration, we're talking about an enterprise type configuration. So to create a connection to your server, what we are going to do is we're going to go to Arc Catalog. You could do this also in ArcMap, but we're going to use Arc Catalog. This is your normal catalog tree that you're used to seeing. We're going to go way down to the bottom here and press on the plus sign here, and we're going to see what is in image 2 show up, where you got the ArcGIS server, and you got an ArcIMS server, which is an older type of server, and you also have several other types of servers here. And these are servers I've actually, excuse me, that I've actually already connected to. One is the Kentucky Raster server by state government. This server is one of my servers, the 216.69.243 machine, and there could be a whole group here. What we're going to do is add an ArcGIS server. What we're going to do is add your ArcGIS server, and so you're going to click Add an ArcGIS server, and when you do that, you should get a new window that shows up. And there's 3 different ways that you can connect to the ArcGIS server. You can connect just to the service, which means you cannot publish to this server. You can be a publisher to the server, where you might give multiple people publishing rights to a server in an enterprise setup, and you can also administrate the server. And this one you want to be very careful with who has administrative rights to the server. Typically, you would be using as a user or as a publisher, and for your case, you'd be the only publisher. You might give several other people in your course rights to view your server. So you'd be the only publisher there. And to be a publisher, they're going to ask credential information. If you're just a user, they're not going to ask credential information to you. So I've typed in here the address to my server, and I'm already connected actually to this server, as you saw in a few screens ago. Excuse me. And what kind of machine am I attaching to? I'm attaching to an ArcGIS server. Notice there's a pull down over here that I have other choices. A staging folder is basically a scratch folder, so that's what that is. And if I was only going in as a user, I would stop at this point and not have to give any authentication credentials. But since I'm going in as a publisher and you want to save your user and name and password, this is your login information into your server, and that's what you're going to be inputting at this location, is your login information to your server. You've already given the path to your server. Now this is the login information that's going to be used to be able to make you a publisher. When you're all done, of course, click Finish and move on to the next screen. So once you've made a connection to your server, then what you're going to do is you're going to actually create a map. So notice I've got a map here that's got 3 different layers here, 3 different shapefiles showing up here. I've also done some work in symbology. We have county population, median age, and county race, specifically African American or black. And I'm only showing median age right now, and this is for obviously a part of the western United States. We got California down here, Washington, and going to the east. So we've got this showing up here, and these are by counties that we're looking at median age. What we want you to do is have at least 3 layers that you're going to create into your map service. You can take each layer and decide when it turns on and when it turns off using the zoom features. You can also decide when things are going to be labeled, or when a feature by itself might just turn on when you zoom to a nice zoom level. You might turn on census tracts, but you initially show it at a county or maybe even the state boundary level. So create a nice map that you like that has automatic zoom and automatic labeling on it. And then we're going to publish that as a service. So what you're going to do is go to the File tab, and you're going to select Share, and then you're going to select Service. When you do that, you're going to come in here, and you're going to see a window that looks sort of like what you saw before when you were connecting to your server for the first time. And so what you're going to do is you're going to publish a service. So you can do that and press Next, and then this screen shows up over here. It's an existing service. You're going to find that server, but you've already made your connection to that server, and then you're going to provide a service name. And once those are done, Next will highlight, and you'll be able to move on to the next screen. The next screen is what you're seeing here on the left-hand side. We're going to publish a GIS service. We're not going to administrate the service. We're not going to use a service, but we're going to publish a service. This automatically gets filled in for me because I've already specified what server I'm going to use. This is all showing up here. Since we're going to publish, you must give authentication, which is your username and password, that you have rights to publish to that service. And so you got to give this information here, and you click Finish. And so this looks a lot like what we did in Arc Catalog, but now we're actually trying to get to a point where we can actually publish a map. We need to give the service a name. So you can see here, I've chosen US_counties_demographics. Do not put spaces in here. That will not work. We're going to use the existing folder, and we'll press Continue to go to the next slide. Two new windows are going to open up. And it sometimes takes a few minutes to do this. So don't worry if it doesn't immediately happen after you leave that last screen where you press continue. There's going to be a window appear across the bottom, which is going to show you any problems and errors that you might have. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then there's going to be a floating window, which will have items down the left side for you to look at, and also parameters that you can work with. So we've clicked that we want to publish this map out, share this map out, and now we're going to see the windows that open up. So this is the floating window that we mentioned. So I've put a service name here. Yours might be different. It shows me where I'm publishing it to, which is what we saw before, what type of machine it is, and what kind of service it is. And this is a map service because we're not connecting to a relational database, and we want the service to start immediately. So this is the window that shows up. Notice down the left-hand side here, there's all kinds of different things that we can do, and we're in this general tab right now. Over here on the right, we can import things, we can do an analysis, we can preview what the service is going to look like, and finally we get to a point we can publish. But we're not ready to publish yet, so just showing you what is in our service editor window. The first thing we're going to do is do an analyze. And the reason we're going to do an analyze, we want to see if the map service is working properly. If it's working properly, we're in good shape. We get three types of situations coming out after we do the analyze. We get errors, and errors must be corrected. You cannot publish a service out with errors. You get warnings, and those warnings are high, medium, and low. You do not need to fix warnings, but if you don't fix warnings, it may be problematic if your service works right. And then you get messages, and messages have three different levels also. You have a preview button, and that's going to show you what it's going to look like once you create the service. And finally, you have a publishing button, and the publishing button will actually send your information to your ArcGIS server. Remember, you cannot publish a map that has errors in it. Those have to be corrected. So this is that other window that I was talking about, and here is showing me what is going on with my service that I'm trying to create. Notice there's no errors. Since there's no errors, I could publish this. There are 4 warnings. It says my data is not registered. What does that mean? I've not gone onto the server, and this is going to be another part of this module. I've not gone to the server and connected it to my storage array. And since it's not connected to my storage array, all the data is going to have to be moved over to the server machine. Not ideal, not what I really want to do. And that's why it's giving me a warning. It's telling me, well, I can move all the data over to your server. You really shouldn't be doing that. It's going to slow your operations down. So it's giving me that warning. And so that's, again, what the next error is about. Missing tag. I haven't put any tags in. I haven't put any metadata in. I have not put a summary in what this is about. And I've also not chosen when certain layers draw and when other layers don't draw. So everything's drawn at every scale range, which means it's going to slow down the process. So I have not put any scale layers. No zoom has been done into this. So these are the warnings it's giving to me. Actually, this last one's a message. It's not a warning. We got 4 warnings, and we got 1 message here for me. I could go on and publish at this point because the errors are 0. But I should probably do some corrections of information. First 2 we've not really talked to you about, but these would be very easy to correct, and we should correct those. Once you're ready to publish, you just press the Publish button, and by pressing the Publish button, it will publish the service. It doesn't do it immediately. Then what I want you to do is to start a new map, go back to your Add Data button or to our catalog, and you're going to go find what you published. So you're going to go down to your server. You're not going to add a server now, but you're going to click on your server. And once you click on your server, it should open up and you should find a service, which is the service that you just created. So, your assignment. You're going to utilize ArcMap to create a service. And it's going to be a mapping service, because we've not talked anything about relational databases. So it's not going to be a feature class service. It's going to be a map service. Locate ArcMap. You can either be on your server or on your computer. It doesn't really matter. Typically, this would be done off of your regular computer, not off of a server. You're going to create a map that has 3 layers. These layers should be located in a common storage area. Again, we're not worrying at this point of your storage array. They might be in your storage array, but we've not connected your storage array yet to your server, so they are going to copy over. Don't use any online services on this map, so don't use a base map like from Esri or someplace like that. They could be in a geodatabase or a file folder. I typically like them in a geodatabase. I think that's a much better way to do things. It's easier to move information around. Once a map has been created and saved, it will be published on your server. Make sure that your project file, your MXD file, has been saved before you publish, just in case it crashes on you. Then you're going to have to create a connection from your server so that you can make this happen. And once the map service has been created, it should be loaded onto a blank copy of ArcMap to ensure that it is functioning properly. Remember, these layers are non-editable. Provide your instructor with a screenshot and also the web address, which would probably be the IP address, which is like what we looked at before, where it shows REST, ArcGIS/REST/services. Make sure that you give that address to your instructor. So basically what you're going to do is what we just showed you in these slides that we did, and so you're going to recreate basically what we've done, very similar to the way that we just created it. So that will be this project, so that we want you to work on that project. We'll stop this video at this point, and there will be a third part for this module that you'll need to use to complete the last component of the module.